It's been a long time since Eugene Levy got back into television. Remember him in the 1970s on SCTV and its offshoots, first syndication, then NBC, and then Cinemax in the early 1980s. And remember that one of his partners was the wonderful Katherine O'Hara? Well, they are both back starting Wednesday night in a new series on Pop Network. Again, we can't say the first name because we did. We might have a shot at going off the air. So let me spell it again. It's SCHITT''S. Here's the premise. Rich family finds out that thanks to a Ponzi scheme, they are pretty much broke, except for one thing. They do own one thing, a town. Ramshackle, not great, and that's where they're forced to stay. Here's a scene from the opening episode, and pay attention, whether you're listening or watching, to the second male voice you hear. That is our guest.
Here's a news flash for both of you. You're not going anywhere, and we're planning a surprise party for your mother.
No, that's not a good idea.
That's not a good idea?
Where would you even throw a party like that in this town?
I don't know. I haven't thought that through yet. Maybe Roland's house?
Listen to the words coming out of your mouth.
Then you plan it.
What?
Oh,
No.
snap, David.
Talk to the hand, son, because the ears are no longer working.
Okay, that's not at all how that works. Though.
Cancel your triple X's because the travel agent is out of the office.
It's so uncomfortable when he does stuff like
Absolutely
that.
not.
I feel so weird about it.
And Daniel Levy joins us live from Los Angeles. Hello, Daniel. Welcome in.
Hi, how are you?
Very fine, thank you. How long has this collaboration been in the offering for?
We've been working on this for about 3 years now, which is crazy. It's crazy to be here now talking to you.
Really? Is this the first time you've collaborated with your father in this manner where you're co-starring, you're co-directing, you're co-writing, you're co-producing pretty much the whole 10 yards?
Absolutely. I mean, I started out for the better part of the last 10 years working at MTV up in Canada. And, I sort of left my dad out of it for a long time, trying to build my own identity up there and connect with people sort of on my own. And when I felt like I had done what I could and that I had confidence in myself, then I turned to my dad when I had the sort of first fiber of an idea for this show. And we just started talking. We started chatting it out, and one thing led to another, and we had a presentation pilot, and then we had, a series pickup. So it's been a very surreal couple years.
And it's interesting that two networks are involved. First, I believe, is the CBC. Actually, the show premiered on the CBC up in Canada first, and now you have Pop Network, which a year ago, when I talked to their management headed by Brad Schwartz, when I asked them, will you ever do scripted television, they said at the time, well, maybe a couple years from now, we'll give it a shot. And here we are a year later, and you're the first on the air in that category.
I would like to take that as a compliment. I knew Brad. He was my boss, actually, at MTV a few years back, and he requested, when he heard that we were shopping the show around, he requested that we bring it in, and we were in the very, very early stages of the show at the time, and he and the rest of the family at Pop loved it, and it was sort of a no-brainer for them. So we take that as a big compliment.
I saw an interview that you had with a publication over before the weekend, where you noted that this is like the perfect time to be involved for a show like this, and perfect time for your dad to get back into television because of the fact that we're in this era now of original scripted television, where all sorts of cinematic, unique qualities in a program are happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're in a golden age of TV. I think that's why so many film actors are coming to television, because there's really dynamic, amazing, funny, dramatic storytelling being told on TV these days, and it's exciting. And I know that for my dad and for Katherine O'Hara, their focus was to really make this show real and in the vein of what they're used to doing, which is sort of very character-based, funny, situational comedy. And it was sort of that sensibility that took us through the early chats of the show and into the scripting process. And now, 13 episodes in the can, and we're excited to show everybody.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that a lot of us were introduced to Eugene and Katherine and Andrew Martin and the whole SCTV gang through television. I remember at American University, I watched the original SCTV, the half-hour syndicated version on WDCA in Washington, where I was going to college at American University.
I mean, it still stands up to this day.
It still does. And I'm wondering, how much did it take for Eugene and Katherine to rev themselves back into the rigor of doing a television series?
I don't even know if it's so much about TV. I mean, granted, there is a level of commitment that you don't have when you sign on to a movie. You sort of do it for a couple months and then you walk away. But when we fleshed out the production schedule, it's sort of the same thing. We shoot the show very much like a film. It's over, 3 months, and it's sort of a quick in and out. But I think for them, or specifically for Katherine, when she started talking to us and we were explaining to her the tone and the sensibility and where we wanted to take these characters, and it was a character-based show. It wasn't a sitcom. It's not a 1-2 punch jokey show. It's really rooted in something real, and it's rooted in this family who has lost their money. And as ridiculous as this family is, it is real people going through something that, is something oddly relatable. And that, I think, is what excites my dad and Katherine, not to speak for them, but just from what I gather, that's what, excites them with every project they do, is an ability to bring life to a character that is sort of strange and funny and unique in a way that only they can.
How did you and your father come up with this idea of doing sort of a Beverly Hills comedy in reverse? And Beverly Hillbillies, of course, referring to the classic series where it's people in rags become riches and move out to Los Angeles and have their impact on the rich folks. And in this case, the case of riches to rags and going to the backwoods.
Yeah. I think it was for me, it started out just as an idea. I think I've been so everywhere I looked, I was seeing, a Kardashian or a Real Housewife, and I felt like culturally we're so aware, whether we want to be or not, of how wealthy people live their lives. And I thought it could be interesting to play on this cultural awareness. Now that we know how these people live, what would it be like to explore the other side of, seeing a family that we're so aware of in the media? What would happen if they lost everything? Would their family stay together? Would they realize that their relationships were tied together by money and not necessarily strong emotional ties to one another? When my dad got on board, that's really what excited him, was the family dynamic and really spending 13 episodes deconstructing what it is to be a family. Because this family in our show is absolutely clueless to the world. They've had so much money that's been saving them from any kind of altercations with one another, and now you have them sort of free-falling in this town, and it was really fun to write. It was really fun to shoot and act in, just as these 4 characters learning what it is to be a family and what the family dynamic means to each and every one of them.
Pop Network is the network formerly known as TV Guide Channel and TVGN, and their first original scripted television show premieres this Wednesday night, the first name of which I have to spell it out or else the FCC might come and yank us off the air. It's SCHITT''S Creek, co-starring Eugene, Levy, and Catherine O'Hara. And the program premieres this Wednesday on Pop Network. Daniel Levy is the co-creator, the co-executive producer, and the co-star with his father, Eugene Levy. And he joins us live from Los Angeles this half hour on Tomorrow We Televised. Simon Applebaum here with you live from the studios of Brooklyn Pennant Media on the other coast near the Barclays Center. Happy to have you with us on this Monday afternoon. Got a question or comment for Daniel? Ring it in at 646-652-2906 or use our chat room, Simon Apple 04 by name. Big 90-minute edition of our show coming your way on Friday from BET's first scripted miniseries premiering a week from tonight, The Book of Negroes. We'll have executive producer Damon de Oliveira and from The Wire, executive producer, co-writer and director Clement Virgo. Also on the program, we will have the executive producer of Amazon Studios' first original series of the year, Bosch, based on the famed novels by Michael Connelly. We'll have Henrik Batson with us. And also, National Geographic Wild has a mini-series coming up this weekend. It's called Wild Australia. We will have Tina Batson. She is the executive producer. 90 minutes for you starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, right here on Tomorrow We Televised this Friday. Daniel, what was it like, once you got into the rigor of working with Eugene and Katherine? What was it like for you in terms of acting alongside?
Well, I was writing. We were in the writer's room and then sort of finessing all the scripts right up until the day we shot. And I attribute that to me not being as nervous as I should have been, because I was working right up to the day that I was shot. I think if I had any actual time to sit down and register what I was about to do, I probably would have been far more nervous than I was. To their credit, there's a reason why they have such lovely reputations in the industry, and that's because they are very generous, loving people, and they never made us feel like, anything but secure and confident, and that was a lovely thing for both myself and actress Annie Murphy, who played my sister on the show. We were both, relatively green, and jumping in with those two, it's a pretty daunting task, and they made the transition quite seamless for us.
Was any of the comedy or any of the situations based on personal incidents or people incidents of people you knew?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's great, and once people start watching the show, I hope what they enjoy about it is this family dynamic is very rooted in real, funny family situations, and that came from sitting down with our writers and really talking to them about, funny things that have happened to them in their lives, sad things, dramatic things, and really squeezing everything out of everybody. So there's a little bit of me, there's a little bit of my dad, but there's also a little bit of every one of our writers in this family and how they speak with each other. And, there's a lot of things that families can get away with in terms of their interactions behind closed doors versus, the way they portray themselves out in public. So it was playing with what you can get away with behind closed doors in terms of the way that they speak to one another. Is it with respect or is it completely disrespectful? And in the case of our family, there's not a lot of respect in terms of the way that they interact with one another, but there is a lot of love. And that was my dad's biggest, must-have in terms of telling the story. And I think that's what he finds the most important with any kind of story that he tells or any character that he portrays. It was, that's the one thing that I learned from him that I thought was really important, is you have to love the characters. Whether they're good or bad people, there has to be something redeeming and there has to be something that connects you to them as a viewer. So it was a great experience to learn from him.
We're going to show a clip from I believe it's from the opening episode in a moment. But first, tell us about one of the people we're going to hear and see in this clip. Another wonderful comedy personality from TV and movie fame that you worked with on. That's Chris Elliott.
He's so genius, and he's so much fun, and he's so hilarious to work with, and he's so good in this show. We were very lucky to have him, and he does such an amazing job playing the mayor of the town, who is not very bright, but very well-intentioned. His what he gets to do with my dad, they very much play off each other throughout the course of the season, and it's hilarious to watch.
Let's demonstrate how they play off each other. Here's a dinner scene from the episode. Again, it's with Eugene Levy, Katherine O'Hara, Chris Elliott, and this dinner scene has two very important elements. One is signing a contract, and the other is the price to pay for doing it.
How many people did you slap on that show?
I don't care.
She can't remember. There were so many slaps.
Enough about me. Let's talk about you signing this contract.
Well, somebody's in a little hurry.
No, we're not in a hurry. No.
Aren't we?
No, we're not. No.
Really?
There it is again. Bam! Okay, I'll tell you what, Vivian.
Moira.
I will go ahead and sign off on this sale.
Good.
For a slap.
Excuse me?
I've always wanted to be slapped by Vivian Blake.
It's true. We've role-played it 1,000 times, but it is not the real thing.
You'd like me to slap you?
Yeah.
I don't think that I...
Well, don't think,
want
just
you to
do it.
slap
Slap
him,
me.
Moira.
I won't.
Slap him, Moira.
Go ahead and slap him.
Slap him. Slap my husband,
slap
Moira.
me.
John,
Come on.
I won't.
Slap him. I'll slap him.
Slap me.
I won't.
Slap me like a bitch.
Sign the fucking contract!
Dan, it's amazing the timing of that scene because NBC is about to launch a new series, a drama series called The Slap, based on the popular Australian miniseries.
Yes, I've heard. I've heard. Very different shows.
Yes, very different, much more dramatic, not played for laughs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and to give a little background to the people who are listening, Katherine O'Hara plays Moira Rose, who was, made famous by a soap opera that she was in. And her character was known to slap people. So Roland, being a fan of her character in the show, was asking her to slap him in exchange for him signing a contract for them.
We're speaking with Daniel Levy. He is the son of Eugene Levy, and they are co-stars, co-creators, and co-executive producers of a show whose first name is is pronounced S-C-H-I-T-T. We have to do it letter by letter, or else we might have the FCC calling us. But the program is Blank Creek, and it premieres this Wednesday night on Pop Network, the network formerly known as TVGN and TV Guide Channel. And Daniel joins us live from Los Angeles this half hour on Tomorrow We Televised. Happy to have you with us this Monday afternoon. Simon Applebaum with you live from the studios of Brooklyn Independent Media near the Barclays Center in New York. You have a question or comment for Daniel, don't be shy. Ring in 646-652-2906 or use our chat room, SimonApple04 by name. We may have either a Monday or Tuesday edition of our program next week because of President's Day. We are trying to put together a special interview with the people behind a new series that is supposed to be announced later today by Cinemexicano. It is carried on DirecTV, cable operators around the country, satellite as well. It is the popular series, it's the popular network of Spanish language movies, and they're doing their first ever original television series, which is, as we speak, being produced along the U.S., Texas, or Mexican border. It is known in English as Blood Border, and we hope to have either next Monday or Tuesday the producer, who is also the star of the program, and the director. That's either next Monday or Tuesday, but either President's Day or day after, right here on Tomorrow We Televise. And by the way, that will be Blog Talk Radio only. Brooklyn Independent Media will be closed on President's Day. Daniel, it must be nice to know that you're starting this program on Pop, and you're already set to go for a second season.
Yeah, I mean, we're very fortunate. We've been ordered for a second season up in Canada, and I'm in the processes of scripting it now. We just finished our writer's room, and it's a pretty stellar second season. I mean, it's a great thing. It's interesting about TV. When you're writing for television, you hope that your idea has legs. And that starts off as just, you hope that it can flesh out into a 1.5-hour episode. Then you hope it can flesh out into 13 or 10 or 8, however long your season is. And then the second season can be kind of difficult because you get to sort of test the idea and see if it has depth and if it has, how deep that well is. And fortunately, we're thrilled with what we've come up with for second season, and I think people who enjoy the show are in for a pretty stellar second round. So it's a blast. It's also nice to know you're being employed for another year.
We had Tom Schnauz, who is the co-executive producer, writer, and director on Better Call Saul, which premiered on AMC last night, on our show this past Friday. And I'm going to ask you the same question I asked him toward the end of our interview. Like your program, AMC gave Better Call Saul a second season before last night's premiere. By the way, we do not know yet how it did in the ratings or how The Walking Dead mid-season premiere did. If we do get them before the end of the day, we'll tell you. But I asked him, how will any of the audience reaction from the first season impact how you write or direct or produce the second season? I'm wondering if what you think about that.
No, not really. Only in that we write our season before we shoot it. And we're about to shoot our second season in April. So a lot of it has already been broken in terms of story, and a lot of it is in the processes of being written. Fortunately, up in Canada, we're about 6 episodes in, so we were able to gauge reaction to certain storylines and certain characters over the first 5 episodes. And fortunately for us, the reaction was exactly how we hoped it would be in terms of, what people were picking up on in terms of the humor and really enjoying the sensibility and getting behind the characters. So we're just building on that enthusiasm, hopefully. And yeah, I mean, I think it's really great now that networks are going ahead and picking up, a second season of a show without even seeing how the first does, because it shows that the network is behind the show conceptually. And I think that's what's so great about TV now, is that it's networks really getting behind storytelling and having that be something that's more important than necessarily ratings. Obviously, ratings are incredibly important. But I think with this new era of TV, if you're telling a great story, then that's a rare, amazing thing. So it's great to hear that Better Call Saul will be back for a second season.
And that reminds me, what kind of creative chances do you take with a show like this? For example, if you saw Better Call Saul last night, who would have thought that you would have had an opening which lasted 8 minutes with nobody talking, and have that pass by. I mean, you would think it was on another network and be like, what? 8 minutes of silence with the cast. Nobody talks. It's all visual. Or for that matter, ABC has a new series coming up next month called American Crime from Don Ridley, who won the Oscar last year for 12 Years a Slave. I saw the second and third episodes last night, and some of the scenes are amazing. Again, with creative chances that you might not have taken even a year or two ago.
Well, I mean, I think this is a good sign. I think this is showing that audiences are, we're not necessarily in that, 5,000 jokes a minute, 5,000 cuts a minute television anymore. It's more about telling a great story. I just finished watching a show on Netflix from the UK called Broadchurch, which, again, is not necessarily the most fast-paced show, but it is an amazing crime murder mystery that is seamlessly told. And, if you can tell a great story, I truly believe that people will get behind it.
We got a call before you go, Daniel. We're going to take it. Hello, you're on Tomorrow Will Be Televised. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Simon. It's Rick Webb calling from Philadelphia.
Hi, Rick. Good to have you. Hope all is great with the cold and everything where you are down there. You're on the line with Daniel Levy. Go right ahead.
Hi, Daniel. I just wanted to ask, are you tempted to, since you have so many great improvisational comedians on this show, to just let them run certain times, or is it difficult to keep them on task and on with the script? I mean, I know they're professionals, but what temptations do you have to just let them run free?
I mean, again, we're between Chris and Katherine, my dad. They're pros at the improvisational game, and we shockingly didn't do that much improvising in the season. But what we did do was, when we got the scenes on the floor and we started to rehearse, we allowed for a lot of workshopping to happen before we started shooting. And that really allowed my dad and Katherine and Chris to have fun. And we would sort of tweak lines and readjust certain situations and really personalize every scene. So while it's not necessarily improvised, there's definitely that same improvisational feel because they're every scene was personalized to all of the characters, and I think if you're into their into the Christopher Guest anthology and everything they've done with Second City, you're in for a treat.
No, it looks awesome, and that's great advice with the workshopping advice before doing the show. So best wishes. I'm definitely going to be checking it out. I dig it already.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you, and thanks, Simon.
You're very welcome. We have to stay warm and dry out there. Rick Webb joining us live from Philadelphia. The comedy co-starring Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara with Creek as its last name begins Wednesday night, 10 p.m. East Pacific time on Pop. Check your local where the channel formerly known as TVGN runs on cable and satellite. You can find more details online at www.poptv.com. That's www.poptv.com. Daniel Levy, thank you again for joining us. All the very best. Hopefully a great run with the show, and all the very best to you, your father, and everyone involved in your show.
Thank you so much. I'll pass along your hellos.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks for chatting. Bye.
Daniel Levy from SCHITT_S Creek joining us live from Los Angeles.